That's right. It's Louisville tomorrow night at Notre Dame. ESPN's College Game Day will be there all day, and the game is tomorrow night, 9 Eastern on ESPN. And joining us now is the head coach at Louisville. Here's Rick Pitino back with us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. How have you been, Coach?
I've been great. Good morning, guys.
Morning. Pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm not sure, I assume you're aware of this. You were one of the teams that fall into this stat, and last night Indiana is another as they lose on a terrific play at the buzzer that gives an uncontested layup to Illinois. 5 consecutive weeks the number one team in the country loses. It's been a very topsy-turvy season at the top of the standings. How do you explain that?
Well, I think all the coaches fully admit that it's not been there has not been a dominating number one team, or for that matter, a college basketball team this year. I think Duke had it for a while, and then they had a key injury. So as I look at the landscape of college basketball, there are a lot of very, very good teams, and 1 or 2, 3 teams are going to get hot at the right time, and somebody's obviously going to rise above everyone else. But there is not a great team in college basketball right now. I think Indiana probably is the closest team I've seen at the number one spot because of 2 or 3 of their players, I think, are dominating basketball players at their position.
You talk about getting hot at the right time. We certainly have seen that in the NFL. Getting hot at the right time certainly can be true in the NCAA. So does that affect how you coach at the end of the season to make sure your players are peaking properly?
You know, we've always played a top 3 or 4 schedule. Last year we had the number 2 ranked schedule. And what we try not to do is not to panic if we get a few losses, not to really get on the players too much at that point, just to keep a positive tone and understand that it's all about the Big East tournament. It's all about the NCAA tournament. It used to be, you know, I've always felt the greatest coach of any sport and the greatest teachers always been John Wooden to me. And during those days, in the early years, you played 3 games in region, sometimes 2, go to the Final Four and win a national championship. Today, it really doesn't matter where you're seated, really doesn't matter where you're sent, because you're going to play a good basketball team. You may get a break in the first round, but then you're going to have to play 3 very difficult games to get to the Final Four. So the regular season's important to get into the tournament, obviously, but the most important thing is to be playing your best basketball come March.
Mike and Rick Pitino, the coach of Louisville. That's really interesting because, you know, it's one of the things that I've expressed concern about. I love college basketball, and I have all of my life, but I have become concerned that it's become too much about that 1 month and not as much about the rest. How do you motivate your players to take all these games as seriously as you need them to while still sending that message that what really matters is still a month away?
Well, they all take it very serious today because every game is on television. We're averaging 22,000 people per night. It really, really is important. But look at all the sports, the NFL. You know, obviously getting into the playoffs for the Giants, they have to win on the road 2 years ago, and then they go on and win the Super Bowl. The Ravens get healthy this year and, you know, win at Denver, and certainly they get moving. They beat the Patriots, and after trailing at halftime for the first time in Bill Belichick era. So it's about every sport right now. But you play really, really hard, and you move forward, but your focus is on the playoffs. I think that's what really makes March so great, is because you have to obviously come around at that month. And we're all judged. You know, the Yankees aren't judged on their regular season. They're judged at how they do in the pennant and the World Series chase. The NFL, college football, and, you know, we played in football. We lost to FIU and somebody else in the regular season, and then all of a sudden we started playing great, and we beat Florida in the Sugar Bowl. Nobody will remember losing to FIU during the regular season. We beat Florida in a major upset. So it's all about the postseason in every sport.
And speaking of FIU, you played them back in December basketball-wise, and the coach at FIU is your son Richard. So talk about the focus in that game and what Mom's thoughts were.
Guys, you know, I don't believe in technology in a restaurant. I look at people when they take out their phones, and I preach to my players, don't take out phones. Last night, FIU is playing a rival game, Florida Atlantic. I not only take out my phone, I bring a computer into a very fancy restaurant, put it under the table while my son's game is going on. And I was so excited. I was like a little kid. They won by 20 in a rivalry game. They're now 13-10. They're going to go on probably and have the best record they've had in maybe 20 years. So excited. It's more exciting to watch him, than even watch our games on tape. I don't care if we're playing Kentucky or not.
It was an amazing day. We talked a lot about it back there in December, and clearly the Harbaugh brothers has been a lot of that stuff. All right, Rick Pitino is with us. Clearly the changing landscape of college basketball, and it hits in the Big East Conference harder than anywhere else. So give us a sense of how you feel right now with all of this winding down for what, one way or another, is going to be the last hurrah for this group as it's currently constituted.
Well, I know you're going to have Jim on later on, and he's obviously been the dean of the Big East. It really is heartbreaking to me, starting in '86 at Providence College when you had Louis Conasec, Garoli, Jim, and just to see what happened to the greatest basketball conference ever formed, held at Madison Square Garden every year, is just really, really heartbreaking that we're splitting up. It takes a piece out of you as a basketball coach. But that being said, we're taking four of the stronger teams amongst many in the Big East and combining it with the likes of North Carolina and Duke and NC State, forming the ACC conference. So it is very, very disappointing, but for Louisville and all sports is very exciting because we go from a very average football conference to now a very strong football conference. And football, as you guys know, is driving right now the NFL as well as the NCAA. So we just move along.
I know it has to encompass all sports, but at the end of the day, is this good for college basketball?
For me personally, it's not. The Big East is so important to me personally, but we certainly it's all money driven. The thing I don't like about it, think about this: West Virginia now joins the Big 12. I believe the closest school is almost 800 miles away for women's soccer, for women's lacrosse, for all the other sports that have to now make 2 or 3 connections and don't travel on a private charter. So that's pretty difficult for a lot of teams now that have to suddenly get on a commercial flight and then get on another commercial flight and then miss more classes. So it's a little unfair for those teams, and you really have to pay attention as well to all the sports.
It's the direction it's all going. Again, tomorrow night should be a great one. Louisville and Notre Dame, 9 Eastern tomorrow night on ESPN, and College Game Day will start the day there. It's always our pleasure, Coach. Thank you. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. Hey, Greeny, one thing.
Yeah.
You'll remember this, and we have never beaten Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and 6 of the last games have been overtime or double overtime. But the one thing I can say I'm proud of our players, they bring it every night, every game. You remember Michael Jordan coming out, Scotty helping him on the court. He had the flu. He still played, still had that great game, and he showed up. He didn't miss that night.
It's a great message, Coach. It's a great message that a lot of people really should take to heart. And while Greeny wishes you luck tomorrow night, you'll understand why I don't so much. But about the sickness and playing through it, I think we get your message, and it's well taken.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
A2, Pitino. A2. Yeah, I've been a fan of Rick Pitino since he was an assistant under Hubie Brown coaching the Knicks. I said, this guy is going to wind up being a great coach. He goes to Providence. I rooted for him. He went to the Celtics. I actually rooted for the Celtics.
You just have to fight. He talked about fighting through things, not publicly wearing anybody out before the fact or anything about getting out there, but just it kind of being understood. Listen, you play through some things.
Pitino turns on me.
Oh, do you think he was talking about you?
Yeah, I think he was.
I thought he was just kind of making a general...
No, I don't think so.
Maybe you're feeling a little self-conscious, and maybe you're taking it as it's about you.
I can't believe it's come to that. Mike and Mike, Rick Pitino on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Join the Subway Footlong Frenzy for your chance to score fresh prizes Subway where winners eat. That was inappropriate. It was damaging. I feel hurt now.
I agree.
I root for Pitino every week.
Your actions yesterday were inappropriate.
I got a real problem with you. A real problem.